Street hockey is a variation of the sport of ice hockey where the game is played outdoors on foot, or with inline or roller skates using a ball or puck. Both ball and puck are typically designed to be played on non-ice surfaces. The object of the game is to score more goals than the opposing team by shooting the ball or puck into the opposing team's net. Street hockey in pick-up form is generally played under the following guidelines, since there are no official rules for local pick-up hockey. Physical contact between players is extremely limited to avoid injury. Minimal amounts of hockey equipment by the runners are worn depending on player preferences. Players agree whether or not to allow slap shots and raising of the stick, both of which can incur serious injury to players since there is minimal equipment worn. Players determine whether to use a ball or a street hockey puck. There is no referee, except when agreed upon by both teams. In its most pure form, street hockey is always played on an outdoor surface, thus the genesis of the name street hockey. Teams can be selected by various methods, but usually are selected by captains via alternate selection of available players. Alternatively, all the players put the sticks in a pile and the sticks are tossed out of the pile to opposing sides. In more organized forms, it is played in rinks which often were designed for roller hockey and can be indoor or outdoor rinks. There are also rinks built specifically for hockey played on foot, and these are referred to as deck hockey or ball hockey rinks. These rinks can also be used for roller hockey games. History of the sport. It is believed that street hockey began when roads started getting paved in wealthier parts of North America around the turn of the 20th century. The term street hockey was thus started in Canada at some similar point, although a search of records both on the internet and in several libraries by fans of hockey in general has not turned up an exact year. The sport, and thus the term street hockey, eventually spread south to the United States. Most people who play the sport generally agree that no single person or entity invented the term street hockey, but rather it simply invented itself, just like the term ice hockey, since it is describing a form of the sport of hockey. People would literally play the game out in the street. Thus, they had to ask people to play by asking them if wanted to play hockey out in the street. As children and teenagers, almost all ice hockey players work on the skills and practice the games by playing street hockey, often alone in driveways or out in the street in front of the houses. Throughout the history of organized hockey, many professional ice players participate in various promotional street hockey games and charity events, often appearing as part of the respective National Hockey League team's youth street hockey programs. Since not every ice hockey player can be on the ice at all times, the vast majority play some form of street hockey either for pure enjoyment or to better their overall hockey skills, or both. Also, since the cost of smaller-sized home ice rinks was too expensive for professional players, many would often play street hockey throughout the summer months to keep in shape physically. This also offered them a chance to work on various different aspects of the game in a cost-effective manner. Before the era of big salaries, many semi-pro and professional players would play in pick-up games with each other when they lived in neighborhoods within driving distance of each other. It wasn't until the early 1970s, when Raymond W. Leclerc, founder of the Milik Corporation and the creator of the no-bounce orange ball, along with several prominent players in the northeastern United States and southeastern Canada, established rules for the more organized forms of the game. These rules were quickly adopted by most leagues in the area and then eventually spread throughout the US and Canada by means of a printed rule book, which people could purchase. After a few years of experimenting with all the dynamics, Mr. Leclerc built a model site in 1974 to play and advance the game in Leominster, Massachusetts. The site, Leominster Deck Hockey Centre, has 3 outdoor rinks, all with modular sport court surfaces, and is informally known as the home of deck hockey, the organised version of street hockey with teams competing in leagues. Caught on with a large amount of players in Toronto, Montreal, Ontario, New York, Long Island, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. Various leagues and tournaments soon were springing up throughout those regions. The game then spread south and west as the Northeast USA players relocated to different areas of the United States and Canadian players moved outside of the Ontario and Quebec provinces. In Canada, the sport was organized for tournament play on a provincial and national level in the late 1970s with the founding of the Canadian Bull Hockey Association. More formal organization of the sport quickly followed, which led to provincial-wide tournaments and then eventually the Canadian National Championships. Gameplay: street hockey is based on ice hockey, and the overall purpose is the same: to score more goals than your opponent by shooting the ball or puck into the opposing team's net using your stick. It is typically played on foot on some outdoor asphalt, cement, or modular sports surface. The most popular balls of choice are orange, no-bounce, plastic balls that are specifically made for street hockey, as well as tennis balls. Pucks are rarely used due to the playing surface, but, in some instances, a special puck designed with bearings for roller hockey can also be used. If a puck is used, generally the players agree for safety purposes to make every effort to keep the puck on the ground, since the players generally don't wear protective headgear, and if a puck were to strike a player in the head it could cause serious medical injury and damage. Generally, street hockey is played with little to no protective equipment, therefore intense physical contact is usually prohibited, and levels of physical contact are agreed upon beforehand by the participants. The game does permit a level of physical contact similar to that allowed in basketball. Rules and playing styles can differ from area to area depending upon the traditions a certain group has set aside. In informal play, the game often begins one of two ways. One, USA called NHL face-off, in which the two opposing centers hit the sticks against each other 3 times, saying NHL. Immediately following the L, the two players fight to see who claims possession of the ball or puck. 2. One team simply takes the ball or puck out from behind their own goalie net, similar to how a basketball game resumes when one team scores a basket. When street hockey is played in rinks, whether outdoor or indoor, it is often called deck hockey or bull hockey, depending on where in the US and Canada it is being played. An overwhelming majority refer to it as bull hockey, with some parts of America preferring deck hockey. For clarification purposes, deck and bull hockey are played under organized rules if they are not already being played as part of an organized league which has an official set of rules. In other words, if you say you are playing deck hockey or bull hockey, both have specific meanings as to the type of rules you are playing under, but you are nonetheless playing under rules. Street hockey can also be played on indoor basketball courts and/or gymnasiums. This type of game is called floor hockey, and in organized leagues often has specific rules in place that differ slightly from outdoor street hockey. The walls or fencing of these rinks serve to keep the ball in play similarly to the boards of an ice rink. Floor hockey has several variations, 2 of which resemble street hockey. These 2 variations are called and. It must be noted, however, that cosom hockey and floorball are considered formal subsets of street hockey since they have such different rules. Some regions in North America use street hockey in reference to roller hockey. where inline roller skates are worn to play otherwise the same game. Street hockey is generally played on foot, and when players use inline roller skates to play it, the sport becomes roller hockey or inline hockey. All this terminology can seem confusing to non-players and the general public, but ultimately is a simple case of semantics. General consensus among players of the sport is as follows: street hockey has variations called deck hockey, ball hockey, and roller hockey. Deck hockey got its name from the material of the floor which it is played on. When street hockey leagues began playing on indoor and outdoor rinks, the flooring or playing surface was referred to as the deck. An example would be two players speaking about a deck hockey game. John had a great game playing center tonight out there on the deck. Ball hockey got its name when people started forming street hockey leagues where they played with a ball rather than a puck. In order to recruit players, league leaders and players needed to be specific about what type of street hockey they were asking people to play. An example would be one player speaking to another potential player, Bill. "Hey Joe, I think you would be a good player in my street hockey league." "Joe, what type of league is it?" "Ball or puck?" "Bill, it's a ball hockey league." There are differences between deck hockey and ball hockey in terms of how the games are played, but these differences are strictly a matter of rules and regulations that are invoked during tournament play. Deck hockey rules stipulate the following. The center line is considered the offsides line. You are not allowed to raise your stick above the shoulder at any time except when in the act of shooting or moving around another player while running. You cannot close your hand around the ball. Official rink dimensions are a minimum of 160 feet in length by 80 feet in width. Ball hockey rules stipulate the following. Offside is determined by a floating blue line. The concept can be difficult to understand for non-hockey enthusiasts, but the simplest explanation is as follows. When the ball crosses the blue line, the attacking team is onside. They have the entire zone up to the center line with which to work the ball around and still be considered onside. Once the ball crosses the center red line, the attacking team's players must clear the defending team's blue line and have the ball enter past the blue line to be considered onside again. You can raise your stick above the shoulder to call for a pass. You can close your hand around the ball provided that you bring the ball straight down to your feet and do not change the direction you are moving in. International rink dimensions are the same as international ice hockey rinks, 197 feet times 98.4 feet. North American rink dimensions are the same as North American ice hockey rinks, 200 feet times 85 feet. Roller hockey is divided into two categories which are based on the type of skates used: quad hockey and inline hockey. This image provides a visual explanation for the various forms of hockey that all fall under the umbrella of floor hockey, a fairly new and popular alternative to playing hockey on the street in Canada is to play in outdoor lacrosse boxes. The lacrosse boxes contain the same asphalt surface as the streets, but offers a more realistic feeling of hockey since the playing area is larger than the average street, in addition to having boards that surround the lacrosse box. Players also do not need to worry about traffic and pedestrians. However, one downside to this is the smaller size of in-place lacrosse nets. Similarly to lacrosse boxes, outdoor rinks are becoming quite popular in public areas around the United States. These rinks allow for a place to play off of what can often become dangerous streets. Outdoor rinks are usually covered in a sport interlocking plastic tile surface so equipment does not wear down as quickly as on asphalt. Some are concrete, which is painted with the special paint designed to provide traction for feet and rollerblades. Many rinks are also covered to allow play during wet weather and lighted for nighttime hockey. There are also a large amount of indoor rinks sprinkled throughout the United States and Canada. No official tally has been made as to the number of indoor rinks, but the unofficial count is over 500 combining Canada and the United States. Equipment. Overall, equipment for street hockey is based on that of ice hockey, but it is lighter and more flexible and with no checking allowed. All of the ice hockey style equipment is necessary except for certified helmets, body checks. In pickup style games, most players tend to play with some combination of the following: hockey gloves, shin guards, eye protection, athletic support, and mouth guards. Shin guards are often of the soccer type when the game is played on foot, though several companies now manufacture and sell shin pads that are lightweight and durable, which have been specifically designed for and are marketed for street and roller hockey. Goalies still typically wear equipment similar in appearance to their ice hockey counterparts for safety, but partly also to help block more of the goal area. However, such goalie equipment used in street hockey is generally lighter than that used in ice hockey due to the reduced weight and density of the ball that is typically used in street hockey as compared to the hard vulcanized rubber puck used in ice hockey. A street hockey stick is similar to an ice hockey stick in shape and size, but made of materials that will better stand up to use on asphalt or a similar playing surface. It has two main parts, the shaft and the blade. The shaft is often made of aluminum, graphite, or wood. The blade is usually made of some type of plastic, typically a blend of polyurethane, and attaches to the shaft by insertion into the shaft, with the inside of the shaft being coated with a specialized type of glue that requires heating to settle and solidify. Other shafts are designed to have the blade screwed onto the shaft and secured in place with screws. Some street hockey sticks are made in one-piece form and are made out of plastic, polyurethane, graphite, aluminum, wood, or a blend of these and other materials. Ice hockey and inline hockey sticks can also be used. However, street hockey sticks are usually cheaper and more durable for playing on asphalt and concrete, and as such are more common for this reason where the game is played on those surfaces. In organized deck and ball hockey leagues, most players use more expensive sticks as the quality of gameplay is much higher caliber than pickup street hockey and the modular surfaces. See the games played, which allow a safer and faster version of deck hockey and are much safer for running than concrete or blacktop. With the success of the widely used orange ball for street hockey, many different color varieties have been introduced due to changing balls for weather conditions, such as yellow, red, pink, and even a glow-in-the-dark ball. Several ball manufacturers now market the balls with the temperature range the ball was designed for on the packaging itself. Most hockey ball manufacturers sell the balls according to the following temperature range: red, orange equals hot, warm above 60 degrees, pink equals cool, between 40 to 60 degrees, yellow equals cold, below 40 degrees. A tennis ball or wiffle ball can also be used as an alternative to the orange ball for street hockey, as it is much softer than the orange ball, therefore reducing the risk of injury. The International Street and Ball Hockey Federation is the worldwide governing body of official ball hockey tournaments and leagues, and they officially recognize two types of balls for play: a hard, warm climate ball for adult or youth play, or a softer version for colder weather. Governing bodies. International. The International Street and Ball Hockey Federation is officially recognized as the governing body of the sport by the International Ice Hockey Federation. The non-profit was founded in 1993 and has provided international competitions since 1995. North America. The Canadian Bull Hockey Association is the official governing body of bull hockey in Canada as recognized by the ISBHF. The American Street Hockey Institute is the official governing body of street and deck hockey in the United States as recognized by the ISBHF. Europe and Asia. Several European and Asian countries have their own governing bodies where the sport has enough players to have a national following and presence. Generally, these countries have rule books based upon either the Canadian, American, or ISBHF rule books, or a combination of some type of these. Tournaments. International. The International Street and Bull Hockey Federation holds several international tournaments, with most being broken down by age groups and gender. These tournaments are typically biannual, such as the men's and women's 20 and over, the men's and women's under 20, and the men's and women's under 18. There is also a men's Masters tournament for players aged 40 and over. North America. There are dozens of tournaments held throughout North America every year. Typically, tournaments start on a Friday and end on Sunday evenings. Both the Canadian Bull Hockey Association and the American Street Hockey Institute maintain a list of notable tournaments. Canada. The Hockey Night in Canada endorsed play-on 4-on-4 street hockey tournament holds the Guinness World Records for the largest street hockey and hockey tournament not any kind. In 2014, 6,070 road hockey teams and 42,006 participants were involved, along with an estimated 250,000 to 400,000 spectators. Regional tournaments were held in 20 locations, with the 2014 National Championships for the Redwood Cup were held in Kingston on August 22 to 24, 2014. The 2015 schedule is expected on February 1 with an expected expansion. 18 additional cities have exposed interest in hosting events. Popularity. According to the ISBHF, there are street hockey leagues in over 60 countries worldwide. As mentioned in the history section, one can safely assume that wherever people are playing ice hockey, people are also playing some form of street hockey.